My name is Stanley St. Rose, and today we're going to be talking about the play Electra written by Sophocles. Now, before I go into the summary and explanation of this play, please remember to leave a like, subscribe, and or leave a comment so that the channel can continue to grow. Now, this play is quite interesting. At the beginning, we're introduced to the murder, or we're told about the murder of Agamemnon. We learned that Agamemnon, after coming back from the Trojan War, he is killed by his wife Clytemnestra and her lover Aegisthus. And it's a gruesome murder. They kill him, and they were going to kill his son by the name of Arrestees, but his sister Electra, she smuggles Orestes out of the kingdom, which is Argus, and she wants Orestes to grow up and to come back to the kingdom one day and help her kill her father's murderers. Keep in mind that her father was murdered by her own mother. So it's a family issue. It's family blood being shed, and the father dies, and now the children want revenge. They want to avenge their father. But not all the siblings feel like this. There's another sister by the name of Chrysanthemous, which is Electra's sister. And Chrysanthemous, she has this mentality. She knows it's wrong that her mother killed her father, but at the same time, she has this attitude of what's done is done. I can't do nothing about it. I can't bring my father back to life. So let me just enjoy myself. Let my mother be with her lover, do whatever she wants. I'm just going to enjoy myself and not get myself killed. And Electra's not having it. She is, she's just not having it. She's crying, she's wailing, she's not dressing herself up, she's not, getting prepared to see suitors or to get married or to have children. She just wants her father to be avenged before she can do all these things. And there's several scenes within this play where she talks about this with Chrysanthemous, and Chrysanthemous says, "Why don't you forget about this? Why don't you forget about revenge and just live your life? Your father's dead." And Electra, basically in a way tells her that she has no backbone and that she has no heart because your own father died and you don't want to help me to avenge his death. Now, after this is said, Electra does have some conversation with her mother, Clytemnestra. Clytemnestra, she's not quite happy with how Electra is acting. She wants Electra to understand that she didn't kill Agamemnon for no reason. The reason as to why she killed Agamemnon is because Agamemnon, um, took an animal from a god, a sacred animal, and the god was extremely mad that Agamemnon took this animal and killed it and ate it. And so what happened is the god wanted Agamemnon to sacrifice his daughter, and so that's exactly what Agamemnon did. He sacrificed um, his daughter, and she died. And Clytemnestra is extremely mad about this, and she said this is why she killed Agamemnon. It's because Agamemnon took one of her kids, one of the kids that she gave birth to, that she carried, that she gave birth to, and Agamemnon, because of his actions of taking this animal from a god and killing it and eating it, um, you know, he had to sacrifice um, her daughter, and Clytemnestra was just not happy. She was just not having it, and so she killed Agamemnon, and she has a new lover, and they throw his body out, and they're ruling Argus now. So Electra's, even though she heard this explanation, which is somewhat an understandable explanation. Now, it's not, it shouldn't be a cause for murder, but at the same time, we understand why she did it. She didn't do it just because she fell out of love for Agamemnon. She did it because, one of her children were taken away from her and killed. And I know Electra's, didn't listen to her, and Electra was not with it. But at the same time, it could have been her. Agamemnon could have taken her and sacrificed to the gods. The fact that your sister was sacrificed to God and you're not even giving that a second thought, it's not really that's not really sound because you could have been the individual in the chopping block. So Clytemnestra's emotions are definitely understood, but that still doesn't validate her murdering her husband. So Electra doesn't really pay this any mind. She waits several years for Orestes to grow up as a commoner, and eventually Orestes comes back to the kingdom. Um, on his way back to the kingdom, he visits his father's grave, and then what he does is he carries this urn with him when he's getting close to this to the home, and what happens is he meets Electra, and Orestes is when he left, he was just a child. When he's coming back, he's a grown man. He's taller. He's stronger, and he doesn't know who to trust or who not to trust. And when he meets Electra, he says Orestes has been killed. He faced this. He was just in this chariot, and everything went wrong, and he was killed. He was in this race and all of this, and he presents this urn with ashes in it to Electra. Electra started weeping, and she says, this is the brother I gave so much for. I took care of this brother, and this is just a trick. Orestes is standing right in front of Electra. Electra is crying. She's wailing. She's like, "Oh my God, I wanted this brother to come back and help me. Kill my father's murderers." And she doesn't know what to do. She had all her hopes in Orestes, and the idea that Orestes was going to come back and help her killed um, her father's murderers. And so after seeing this, Orestes just does say, that's not your brother in that urn. I'm your brother. So stop crying. I'm here. I'm not dead. I'm alive. And she realizes this. It takes some time, but she realizes this. And her and Orestes, they embrace. They're happy, and they're all together. And then the killing starts. So Orestes, without any second thought, Electra says, that's the woman who killed your father. That's the man who killed your father. Orestes pulls out his sword and kills his own mother and Aegisthus, which is, yeah, I mean, okay, you got your revenge and you avenge your father, but you killed your mother. I guess justice was done, but I don't know how. I don't. It doesn't make any sense how killing your own mother, even though she did a bad act, is a win, right? So Orestes ends up slaughtering his own mother, killing his mother's lover because of his father. Even though that the mother did have a valid reason for wanting revenge, for wanting to kill just Agamemnon, excuse me, because again, Agamemnon killed her daughter, and she wanted revenge, and she got her revenge, but then her own children killed her because of their father. And at the end, Orestes becomes the new king of Argus. The play doesn't reveal anything that happens to Chrysanthemus. I'm guessing she just lives with them. The play doesn't reveal anything about her after the fact. In Electra, she's with her brother now, and they're going to rule the kingdom. And that's pretty much the end of the play. The play is really interesting. There's a lot of scenes of Electra crying and wailing and praying to the gods to send help. There's scenes of how um, Clytemnestra started to get nervous because there were several signs of her end coming, and she thought it was the spirits of the dead coming for her. She sent Chrysanthemus in some scenes in the play to go pour libations on the grave of Agamemnon to kind of like appease the spirits. But her doom was just coming. There was no escape of her doom, and her own son took out his sword and just killed her. And that's the end of the play. It's quite interesting. In terms of analysis, um, there's a lot that can be said. um, within this play. I mean, we can look at it, um, this family vendetta that's going on. Are there really winners? That's one of the things that, in terms of analysis, I want to look at this play because, from my perspective, there's no winners. Electra is just the play. Electra is just it's family slaughtering family. You know, the father killed one of the daughters. The mother killed the father for doing that. She gets a lover. She's ruling the kingdom and having fun. And the novel and the play kind of depicts her as this evil woman, as this woman who had no class. But at the same time, the play, excuse me, doesn't really blame Agamemnon for killing one of his daughters. That's just, hey, you know, the gods ask you for a sacrifice. You gotta sacrifice your daughter. There's no problem with that. So the play doesn't really penalize him for doing that. It's just it had to be done. But when Clytemnestra wanted revenge for that, the plays, everything went against her. She's the evil one. She's the one that's committing these heinous acts. Um, so it's quite interesting. And the other thing that really pops out is that, you know, Agamemnon could have killed Electra. He could have killed Chrysanthemous. He could have killed the other daughter. But Electra doesn't listen to this. She just wants revenge, and she doesn't really ponder or pay attention to the fact that her father could have killed her for the gods. So it's quite interesting that there's so much revenge in Electra's eyes that she's not really thinking about all of these other reasons or why her mother's reasons were. She just looks at her mother as a murderer, as a person who is lustful, who has no morals, and who's not really acting in her right mind. Um, and her mother does have logical reasons for that. So Electra, in many ways, she's kind of blind to the truth because she should have been mad at her father for killing her sister in the first place. But she shows nothing but love and admiration for her father in wanting to get his revenge, right? So Electra is certainly strong on some points and not strong on others. Her in my perspective, I think her idea of justice is kind of off balance because there's blame on the mother's side and there's blame on the father's side. The fact that she picked the father's side in this doesn't really give me um, a reason to side with her because her father's guilty and her mother's guilty. They're both guilty. They're both murdered somebody. The father murdered his own daughter, and the mother murdered her husband. So I don't. There's not a logical reason as to why Electra sided with her father and wanted to get revenge for her father. Um, it's quite it. It's something to think about. That's what I have to say about that. It's something to think about. And the other thing in terms of analysis that I want to look at is Arrestees. Orestes, he's just like just a weapon, right? He comes in. Electra says, that's the woman who killed your father, and even though that was his mother, he just takes the sword and kills her. And he's going to be king now, and a king is supposed to be a person with wisdom and who's supposed to know right from wrong. And yes, she killed um, your father, but don't you want to stop and ask why did you do it? If you're going to be a future king here, you gotta have patience and the ability to say, mother, you killed my father. Why did you do that? Did you have a reason? He didn't ask any of that. The play just says he takes his sword, he goes in, he slaughters her. He doesn't question her or anything or give her a trial or anything. He just slaughters her. Um, no, he doesn't hesitate in any way. So that's quite interesting, and it says a lot about who he is as a person, and I think that questions his attributes as a king, because his mother did have a valid reason for killing um, Agamemnon, even though again I'm not saying she should have murdered the person. There's never a good reason for murdering a person. So that's quite interesting. And the play does beg a lot of questions, but at the same time, it's a family feud, a family blood feud, which does have some question marks all over it. I really want to understand Electra's reasoning for siding with her father and not her mother, because her father's guilty and her mother's guilty, but she picked her father anyway. With she wasn't wavering at any point. So that's my summary and explanation and analysis of this play. It's a really good play. I've pretty much covered the parts that I think that are most interesting, and the main idea of this play. Again, if you like this video, please leave a like, subscribe, and or comment, and I'll see you guys in my next